why am I here? Why are we all here? But in particular, when I was in front of a class, one of the first things I do when I'm standing in front of 12 ORD inroads users was ask them, why am I here? Why did your company pay me to come here? What value do I add? And there was a time when the videos that were available, the classes that were available were the classes I was teaching. And I would say, this class we're about to go through, these courses are available on learn.bentley.com. And a lot of these, I'm the voice going through the demo, right? Going through the course. It's like, so if you need to hear my voice, you get it for free. Why am I here? Okay. All right. There's a number of answers to that. And one, this one I knew. It's like, well, it forces us to be here. Okay. The other answer I would give, I think I had three. One, we're going to spend 32 hours, 40 hours, whatever it is. We're going to be here. We're going to be working on it. So that's value. You can do the stuff for free, but you may not get around to it. This will get us doing it. And at the end of 40 hours, 5 days, 4 days, whatever it is, we know we're going to be at a certain point, and we can count on it because there's been money invested. Okay. Another answer is you can ask me questions. If you ask the Jeff voice on the video questions, he's not going to answer, okay? The nice thing about the videos is you can back up as often as you need to and rewind and all that, but the video is not going to answer questions. So being in person, it's a dialogue. You can ask questions. You should ask questions. Providing context is why I'm there. Okay. This was the third one, and this is where I think a lot of the value is. A lot of times I would go there, ahead of time you'd have a 5 levels up, they'd sell the service, and then they'd talk to someone 5 levels up on the trainee side, the account side, and you'd have an agreement on what you're going to go over. Now, generally what I did is I brought about 80 hours of material because the value you get from someone being on site who knows what they're doing is very quickly they will figure out what your actual needs are, and then you can prioritize. We know the software. If we've written it or we've trained it a lot, we know what's valuable, what's not. So we have the expertise in both the end result, the software, and we're able to identify, evaluate, and prioritize the material. Say, okay, you guys don't need this. This is important. Okay, so that is actually one of the best values of having someone have a dialogue with you, understand what your needs are. And in theory, you don't need to do that in person. You could do it remotely, but spending time with people, you understand what their needs are, and you can promote the right stuff, demote, de-emphasize the less important stuff. It's that triage. Okay. And then there's training tends to be generic. You try to hit the broadest audience with with the least amount of work. But the questions are always specific to, we have this. How do we do this? Your tool says this. For this application, we have this application. So you can translate the generic to the specific. Okay. Now here's one you're not going to get very often, and I just came up with this recently: the Oberth effect. Okay. This is something that seems really counterintuitive, but it's true from a physics standpoint. It's undeniable. The math proves it. But and I'll give you the Oberth effect mechanically. So if you're a rocket and you have 100 pounds of fuel and you want to burn that and get the most value out of it, you would think that it doesn't matter if you're in space, in orbit, no atmospheric stuff. Wherever you burn that 100 pounds of fuel, you're going to get the same amount of energy out of it. Okay? The energy in that fuel is going to be a constant. That is not the case. What happens is you get far more energy out of burning the fuel when you're moving fast than when you're going slow. So the Oberth effect is the added value you get by burning when you're moving fast. So when you have it, sorry, so I've got links and the details of it. The point is, if you have a class, there is prep, there's an acceleration that occurs before the class, there's a focus, there's an energy, and then when you get into the class, you get the delta, the boost from the class, but all the work that goes ahead of that actually you get far more value out of the class. So by scheduling a class, and whether it's remote or whether it's in person, by scheduling a class, you move the organization. You may move them a little, may move them a lot, but if you move them a lot, when you have class, the students are ready, they've evaluated their workflows and said, hey, maybe there's some opportunities. But the point, by scheduling a class and having everybody aware of it and do some prep, any layer of prep really, the more you move before you get there, you get far more value out of that in-person time. So links on the webpage, but it seems so really counter-effective, but I mean counterintuitive, that same amount of effort here, same amount of fuel gets far better results depending on how you do that. Okay. The other thing is, over the course of 4 or 5 days, always evaluating. You don't get 100% of retention you don't retain, call it 20%, 30%. I've had arguments with other trainers. I can ensure 100%. You don't get 100% retention out of any length of class. But what someone can do is evaluate as you go. Make sure you get the important stuff. Some stuff's not important. Some stuff is critical. Okay. We can evaluate over the course of days if the important lessons are being absorbed, and we can adjust to make sure that it is that we change how we maybe different data sets. There's a lot of stuff we can do to ensure the outcome, and that's kind of the final thing, is we can ensure the outcome through a lot of techniques. A lot of it's just repetition. Just that this is important. This is important. Beating a dead horse. Ironically, I was teaching a class at a community college, and it was a veterinarian hall. They actually had a skeleton of a dead horse in there. But if it requires beating a dead horse to drive the point home, we can do that. Okay, you don't get that out of a book. Probably don't get it out of video. It's the feedback. The hey, this is important. And again, communication and connection that occurs in dialogue and in person. Just engaging with live people back and forth. Dialogue versus monologue. I'm very uncomfortable with monologues, even though you can tell I babble. I want dialogue. When I'm around someone, I want to know what they're thinking. I want to understand what's working for them, what's not. So just two-way is so much better for learners than one-way. And again, you got one-way available through OnDemand. Big question is live remote versus in person. In person is more expensive. Is it worth you get a better value? You get more results, better results, a more assuredly delivered good results from being in person versus doing live remote. Is that extra cost worth it? And I would say it depends. Okay, is $2,000 a day or whatever the cost is that worth? Say, I don't even know what's remote cost, $1,000 a day. Regardless, that delta, is it worth it? That's up to you. Are your budgets tight? Does that make a significant difference? How good is your staff, and how experienced is your staff? How experienced is your staff at learning, taking the ball? So I would say live remote will give you the ball. Are they good at running with it? If they're less experienced, or maybe you need to go in person, give them the ball, see if they run with it, and you might have to do more. So it depends on your budget, your staff's needs, and cost. So I don't know. They're both good. The takeaway on this is, I tell my son, every interaction is an opportunity. Live is interaction, it's action, and it's dialogue, it's two-way. In person, your channels of communication, there's a lot more. Just the nod of the head, the eye contact. It's amazing what you get as an instructor as far as understanding where a student is that you can't get remotely. Okay, I think remote training, remote live is very valuable. And I think that if your staff engages, it's probably a very good outcome, very likely with remote. I'd say it's harder for the trainer. The trainers it's hard to have 12 students it's hard to get the feedback that you need to ensure that they're doing okay. But I think if your staff is highly self-sufficient and focused and capable, then you can get a lot of value live remote versus in person. Really depends. And yeah, so those are. So what value do I have by being in person? All those things. I will. There'll be this is the web page. I don't like to do PowerPoint, so I will do an undo, and you'll get it. Actually, I'll just do a close. But yeah, so hope that helps. Bye.